I'm John Hinkle, Senior Pastor of First Presbyterian Church here in downtown Murfreesboro on the corner of College and Spring. This is your Saturday morning preview of Sunday morning sermon. So we are in the third sermon of our series looking at a faith lived out. Our backdrop, as you know, for this series is James's letter to the ancient church. We are looking at the third chapter where we are going to talk and focus on our speech. Interesting enough, I said this in my sermon that I wrote this note. I think it was somewhat sarcastic, but I said this should be an interesting sermon to preach. And what I mean by that is I think for some people this is where I go from preaching to meddling. Because our speech, according to James, a form of work can get us in trouble. In fact, James says the tongue, it may be a small part of the body, but it's the part of the body that boasts the most. Now, interesting enough, James is actually kind of talking about those who wish to be teachers in the church, those who wish to be leaders in the church. And in the past, I've actually focused on this. I think I've used this during ordination for our ruling elders, but it covers all of us. And I don't know about you, but I suffer from foot-mouth disease. I say in my sermon that I love talking. I love talking a lot. I probably love talking too much. And often when I talk, I don't think through with what I am saying. And I think maybe that's part of the curse of being an extrovert, where I think an introvert really kind of puts a lot of thought before words come out of their mouths. I think Leela thinks a lot about what she is going to say next. Well, where I could talk to a wall. And that's not always good because often if we don't put thought into our words have a way of wounding. And that's important to note because I think James is being very clear. Our words and every conversation we have is an opportunity for us to do one or two things. It's either an opportunity to draw people closer to Jesus. I mean, that's what, in some small way. Or it's an opportunity to push people away from Jesus. The other day, I had to run into the grocery store. I had to get chocolate for my interviews. If you came to my Wonderful Wednesday class, if you know. But anyway, and it was clear. I think it was just clear that the cashier was not in a good mood. And I got to be honest with you, it's not that I was in a bad mood, but I was pretty rushed and I really didn't care if she was in a bad mood or not. I just wanted to get the chocolate and go. But there was something in me that just said, you know what? It doesn't take much effort to be nice, John. So I asked her how her day was going. She said, not so good. And I said, I'm so sorry to hear that. I really am. And by the time she finally checked me out, she looked at me, and I think she genuinely meant it. She said, have a good day. And I said, thank you. You too. Simple things like that. Those are the opportunities we have. And I think what James is really kind of pointing to is this notion that, we can either pull people towards the gospel or we can push them away from the gospel. And that's what we want to avoid at all costs. We want to avoid pushing people away from the gospel. So I think before we speak, there are actually two steps we got to take. Step number one, we got to be quiet. We just got to be quiet. Be still. Don't be in such a hurry to talk. Just be quiet. Be silent. Jesus said that to the disciples. Come with me to a quiet place. Just be quiet. It's okay. You don't need noise. The other day I was driving in the car and usually I put it on my podcast or I call somebody on the phone and I just said, from Richland Place to the church, I'm not going to turn on the radio. I'm not going to turn on my podcast. I'm just going to be quiet. I think it did me some good. Second thing, in being quiet, we now have the ability to listen. listening is so important. In fact, I think it's not just listening, but like you want the person to know you are listening. You want to create empathy for that person. You want to care for that person more in some ways than you care about yourself. This is what James is calling us to do. And so when we're silent, we're able to listen. And in listening, according to James, I think we're now ready to respond. We're ready to talk. So I really look forward to being with you this Sunday. It's hard to believe. We're halfway through August. Crazy. But it also means we're closer to college football kickoff. So that's fantastic. I hope that will be fantastic for me. Talk to you later.